Welcome back to Enter Med School. This is Leo. Today we're comparing the two big inflammatory bowel diseases, Crohn disease versus ulcerative colitis. And yes, the whole kingdom is on fire, because inflammation is the theme. On the left, the castle is burning through and through. Even the walls are on fire. That's Crohn, where inflammation is transmural, meaning it goes through the entire bowel wall. And when the whole wall is inflamed, it can literally break through. See those castle walls collapsing into the river? That's transmural inflammation, which leads to fistulas. On the right, the factory is burning mostly from the inside, with smoke coming out, because ulcerative colitis is inflammation limited to the mucosa and submucosa only. Now zoom in on the factory's back door with the continuous red carpet. That's ulcerative colitis doing what it loves. Continuous colonic lesions that always involve the rectum. And the red carpet is your reminder for bleeding. And the path to the Crohn castle is made of cobblestones, classic cobblestone mucosa. Finally, look at the factory's holes. That's ulcerative colitis complications, fulminant colitis, toxic megacolon, and perforation. When the king doesn't listen to the people and problems build up inside the factory, eventually something blows. Meet the ruler of the left side, King Crohn, because Crohn sounds like crown. He's not just fat, he's creeping fat. That's a classic Crohn gross finding. Creeping fat wrapping along the bowel. Notice he's sitting up on a bigger, thicker hill. That's bowel wall thickening, another Crohn hallmark. And he's trying to squeeze his belly with a string. Welcome to the string sign on small bowel follow-through. A skinny, narrowed segment from inflammation and thickened bowel. Crohn can hit any portion of the GI tract, but it usually loves the terminal ileum and colon. And it does it in skip lesions. We'll see that in a second. Crohn's gross pathology also includes linear ulcers and fissures. Think deep cracks in the castle territory, because transmural disease doesn't do anything halfway. Now look at his cape covered in little dots. Those are non-case-eating granulomas and lymphoid aggregates, microscopic Crohn classics. He also shows the big shared IBD outside the gut problems. Rash, pyoderma gangrenosum, and erythema nodosum. Eye inflammation. Episcleritis and uveitis. Oral ulcerations. Aphthous stomatitis. Arthritis. Peripheral arthritis and spondylitis. Clinically, Crohn gives diarrhea that may or may not be bloody. And treatment-wise in medical school world, Crohn often brings in glucocorticoids to reduce inflammation, azathioprine, antibiotics like ciprofloxacin or metronidazole because of infections we get due to the disease, and biologics like infliximab and adalimumab, when conventional steroids need some extra help. Now, on the factory side, here comes the union. U stands for ulcerative colitis. They're standing in muddy crypts because UC is famous microscopically for crypt abscesses and crypt ulcers. And notice the vibe. Messy, raw, and angry. Just like UC mucosa. UC causes bleeding. And here's a key microscopic contrast. No granulomas in UC, so no dotted granuloma cape like the king. Ulcerative colitis is literally colon inflammation. It makes continuous lesions, and it always involves the rectum. That's our continuous red carpet from the back door. Grossly, UC stays shallow compared to Crohn. Mucosal and submucosal inflammation only. But the mucosa is friable, with superficial and/or deep ulcerations, meaning it can bleed easily with minimal contact. One worker is holding a lead pipe. UC has loss of haustra, giving a lead pipe appearance on imaging. And that worker holding the white sac? That's primary sclerosing cholangitis, a classic UC association. UC is also associated with P-ANCA/MPO-ANCA. UC's intestinal symptoms are the opposite of Crohn's vibe, bloody diarrhea, and it's usually painful. Treatment options you'll hear nonstop in medical school. 5 aminosalicylic acid meds like mesalamine, 6 mercaptopurine, infliximab, and sometimes the factory shutdown cure, colectomy. And whenever you see the crab on Enter Med School, think cancer. Specifically, colorectal cancer risk in inflammatory bowel disease. Both Crohn, when it involves the colon, and ulcerative colitis can increase colorectal cancer risk. And the risk rises especially with pancolitis, when inflammation is widespread across the colon. So chronic fire in this kingdom doesn't just hurt today, it changes the long-term map. Now check out this thin guy peeing into the river. He's your Crohn, price of war. Crohn can cause malabsorption and malnutrition, which is why he looks so small and drained compared with the creeping fat king. And here's the classic Crohn stone pathway. Inflamed intestines will lead to malabsorption of fat, which will lead to fat binds calcium in the intestine. Oxalate can team up with calcium in the kidneys, leading to calcium oxalate kidney stones. Crohn is also associated with gallstones because malabsorption messes with bile salt recycling. And one more crucial Crohn complication to remember that we mentioned earlier, fistulas, including an entrovesical fistula to the bladder, which can cause recurrent UTIs and pneumaturia, meaning air bubbles in the urine. So if this pee looked bubbly in your mind, that's not a mistake, that's a clue. And finally, this kid skipping rope is the cleanest memory hook in the whole scene. Skip lesions. That's Crohn disease. Inflammation can hit any part of the GI tract, but it usually targets the terminal ileum and colon, and it does it in patches, with normal segments in between. That's also why Crohn can show rectal sparing. Ulcerative colitis is the opposite pattern. Continuous lesions in the colon, with rectal involvement. And one last practical medical school tool, fecal calprotectin is used to monitor IBD activity and help distinguish inflammatory disease from non-inflammatory causes like irritable bowel syndrome. So, skipping kid equals Crohn skips. Factory red carpet equals UC is continuous from the rectum. That's it for today's lesson. Done. Don't forget to check out our flashcards and resources on Enter Med School. See you next time.